Whoa, guys, what's going on? I've made extensive videos before on Dark Souls lore. You know me. I draw poorly made doodles so I don't have to cut footage of the games. I even reuse doodles from previous videos for even less work. I'm in between lore video topics, but I figure I want to do something quick and easy. There are 5 different ideas here that do not warrant their own videos. They're my own little pet headcanons for different aspects of the lore. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Without further ado, here we go. Number 1, Frampt is aging. When you talk to Koth and Frampt, it's actually kind of hard to tell the difference between them. Their philosophies may be radically different, but they look and sound identical. This theory started when I asked myself how they're fundamentally different by personality. Could I be able to tell the difference between the two with a conversation? Um, there is an answer to that, and then it's supported by another idea. Dark Souls 3's repair sorcery states in its description that light is time. Simple enough, and it also tells you about how the games view eternity, the flame, the abyss, and other conclusions you could make. This isn't what this is for, but it tells you a lot when you compare and contrast the two snakes. Koth and seemingly all primordial serpents seem to be living or hiding in the abyss. That's their primary location and their home. I even assume the kiln and altar are located somewhere in the abyss, judging by the connecting routes and the Dark Lord ending. Maybe when you jump down Fram's hole, it's just like you're going straight down into the altar or something. That would be the only dilemma with that idea. With this absence of light, largely speaking, Koth would seem like he doesn't age. He never shows signs of being tired or silly, and he's ultimately just patiently waiting for a brave undead warrior. Koth is watching and he's awake. This is in contrast with Frampt, who seems to be sun exposed consistently. First of all, he's in Firelink Shrine, but he also seems to have had direct contact in a personal relationship with Gwyn, indicating he regularly visited the outside sun drenched world. Frampt is much sillier than Koth. Part of this, is in a meta developer storytelling sense because Frampt's wacky nature disarms the player, makes him unassuming. When he tells you good things are going to happen when you link, you believe him more because Frampt seems less sinister because of his wackiness. And that makes it more of a shock when you realize the foundation of lies fire linking is built on. This being said, there's still ample evidence that Framp's mind is drifting from him. He sleeps, first of all. That's a weird sign. He's dozing off when you walk by him normally. He tells you not to treat him as if he's a withering snake, directly calling on the idea that he's getting old. Most importantly and telling here is Koth's opinion of Frampt and Frampt's own existence in the Dark Lord ending. Koth doesn't think of Frampt as an evil traitor. He thinks that Gwyn fucked up or Seath is a traitor, but Koth regards Frampt as losing his sense. When you become the Dark Lord, he's welcome again into the Serpent family eagerly after he's learned his lesson. There's no second thought or confusion. Many here would think, this indicates Koth and Frampt have the same goals. I don't necessarily know that's specifically always the case, because that wouldn't necessarily make sense for why Koth interferes, for instance. Koth's dialogue could indicate a respect for Frampt. Maybe Frampt had seniority as a serpent or some shit. But, as time goes on into the world, Frampt is becoming more and more delusional or selfish or whatever. The idea here is he's a boomer serpent. He's like if your uncle starts spouting off some wild QAnon conspiracy shit. You roll your eyes and you worry about him and you worry about what this says about the rest of the world, but you don't necessarily think, he was always sinister and he's, an evil traitor or anything. That's it. That's the theory. That's why I didn't make it an entire video. It's fun though. Number 2, Yhorm's linking is the direct cause for the profaned flame scorching. This one is founded on Jack and shit. And doesn't necessarily need to be believed. I don't, subscribe to it entirely myself. But basically, it's the idea that even though Yhorm was, a good giant or a good man, he's giant, but you know what I mean, who linked to get rid of the profaned flame, and, for the sake of the people who ridiculed him, his loneliness and personal resentment against everyone else manifested when he linked. After Yhorm's linking, the profaned flame specifically scorched only human flesh. The profaned flame is an eternal flame with an abyssal core. Another sign the abyss and the dark may be eternal versus, light being time. I can discuss that another time, but I regard the lore, I regard the idea of a Lord of Cinder and fire linking as a sort of painful wish fulfillment or self-actualization. That is, your wants and desires are manifested into reality via your strength and will. Like when Ludleth says he painted a new vision. With this, I think Yhorm's inner resentment of humans and loneliness after losing his loved one caused a reaction by the dark in the profaned flame to stir and burn human flesh after he linked. It's too short for a video and it's 90% speculation, 10% meat on the bones. So I was never going to make that into a video. Number 3, a further explanation on the dark chasm of old. I made a lore video about Dark Souls 2's intro and its core theme of identity. With that near the end, I mentioned covenants and I specifically cited the dark chasm of old and the dark divers. There, exploring the self was a fundamental idea, and you're exploring it through the shared space of this fallen creature's abyss. We see hints to Jung's collective unconscious ideas, which such things as like Ricard and Joseph Campbell's monomyth, or the idea of the dark hiding the true self that we must confront. Outside of that, I wanted to specifically talk about Grandal and Dark Lurker, and how I read the Covenant generally. Grandal is both a teacher and a student for you here. He says, "We shall visit these sacred sites," and these bowls to light are indeed a ritual for something important and sacred. There's a lot of talk about discovering a deeper dark within you and seeking dark. To me, it has to come to a head with Dark Lurker. He's literally on a deeper floor and is what marks the final achievement in the Covenant, where you have discovered the truest dark within you. A deep, deep dark it is. The dark that we must all face. Dark Lurker has to be part of that, whatever that you personally want to take it as. In the most literal way, he's like those bioluminescent fish in the bottom of the ocean floor. He's a dark creature that has an undiscovered light and a sort of beauty within. He must clearly represent some sort of unified nature or origin or even endpoint. It's that what we must all face. And with Life Drain Patch, it's possible death is a good answer. It's possible other things are a good answer as well. You come into his territory, but I think I would do the idea a disservice when I say dark is created when we light the caves further. Perhaps a better way to say it is that darkness is always there, but when we light the cave, it allows for further exploration into deeper dark. In a way that's impossible without that light. You can say it agitates Dark Lurker. You can say it might draw him in. But all that matters here is that you're able to go deeper into the chasm through these sites. What's also important here is that Grendel is a man of high faith, committing to actual Gwyn miracles, and has a dragon shine that speaks of a sublime purity hidden deep within, something tainted. And Profound still also requires a high faith to know or to commit to. It seems like he is a cleric, but he's not anti-dark. He seems to think that it's absolutely necessary for dark to be explored for the strength of self. The Covenant and Grendel speak to the idea of this type of complexity to your faith. Self-reflection leads to a stronger faith. This darkness makes the light better. It makes it stronger. And it's a good thing. Both are together in a good thing. There's a purity to it. That's it. That's all I got there. I think that's important stuff to know. Number 4, Londor questline is easy mode. 3 things you got to know. Number 1, it's the only way you can specifically go hollow in Dark Souls 3. Number 2, 5 free levels rewarded upon each subsequent death. Number 3, you have multiple summon options. It removes Pale Shade invasions. Soul of Cinder literally has 2 summon options. With this and other aspects, the church is guiding you to becoming the Lord of Hollows. Here, I'm not necessarily saying the Lord of Hollows is weak or you don't know what you're doing necessarily. You'll even cite you getting the levels as you drawing your true strength. I think a fundamental idea of linking or becoming a champion or a monarch is through will and strength. Hollowness is often seen as giving into your weaknesses. Here, the Church of Londor has created a way to turn weakness into strength. Yuria and Yoel are suspicious to anybody with a skeptical eye, and Yuria is surely buttering you up and deceiving you at multiple points, such as with Orbek's murder. Lying and deception for me are common, or for instance, are common with Londor hollows. And to me, that's emblematic of the philosophy of strength here. What is a lie? A lie is a weakness pretending to be a strength by virtue of removing truth, which is also ironic in the context of it being a Koth church. And Koth seemed obsessed in the first game with telling you truth as a strength. Yuria tells you the decisions you make and what a real lord would do, such as marry Henri. She tells you to link the fire if you don't end up marrying Henri. And that dialogue is hard to get because that quest line is like just fucked, but she can say it. And that indicates that she doesn't give a shit about you as the Lord of Hollows specifically. And, if you're just a failure, just fucking link so she can try again next time. If you're upset by the idea of Londor being a place of the weak, it's not that they are always weak. The sisters, for instance, are quite strong and deadly. I know this because I die a lot to them. They're merely creating true strength from the weak. Another example is Londor marriage and marriage in general. Marriage as a commitment. These are also signs of, theme of weakness. A vow or commitment is a weakness, but it fosters strength. All right, next one. Number 5. Lord of Cinders, or Lord of Cinder Embers will become stars. The darkness is deep and vast and eternal. The infinite abyss ever expanding and smothers us into the night and hides where the light dare not have the strength to go. And it will smother the light one day, to be sure. And there is darkness to be found here. But to gaze above and you see the infinite night, that is abyss. The age of dark is, for us. Good news for those who believe in the light. Good news for those who believe in the strength to endure the infinite. When the flame dies and the darkness comes for you, gaze upon the stars and take solace in the eternal. The stars are the willful embers that can endure the dark, and they are what the firekeeper sees in the end. The stars are the embers that dance in the darkness, linked by lords past, traveling at the speed of light to pierce the veil of shadows. What are constellations to us? They're legends, stories of greatness or myths themselves. And in the game, they are linkers, immortalized forever in an eternal ember. And to me, this really set in when I realized there are no stars in the original Dark Souls. Gwyn himself in the first flame and its arena identify themselves as our sun, not the other stars. And then it sort of develops into, star studies in Dark Souls 2 and all that. That one's also just fun. These are just funs. That's it. And these are not meant to be treated as super canon. I put them in this video so you take them less seriously. Take these with giant grains of salt and just, have fun with it. I enjoyed this though. And if y'all have any questions or whatever, I would like to do a Q&A lore vid at some point in time. So if anyone ever has questions, DM me on Discord via the ward, or you could you could just comment on this video, like, comment, and subscribe. As always, hit the bell notification. You know how it is, yo. Have fun.